There is a version of vegan chocolate mousse that most people have made. Drain a can of chickpeas, whip the liquid, fold in some melted chocolate, and hope for the best. And it works, mostly, but it is not this. What you're looking at is a mousse made the way a patisserie would make it. Let's start at the very beginning with the chocolate itself. The first mistake most recipes make is treating chocolate as a single ingredient. It is not. The number on the wrapper, the cacao percentage, tells you two things. It tells you how the mousse will taste, and it tells you how the mousse will set. Here I have 3 bars, 55%, 70%, and 85%. These are not interchangeable. They will give you 3 completely different mousses. 55%, this is the sweet end. It melts smoothly, it is forgiving to work with, and the finished mousse will be mild and crowd-pleasing. If you're making this for people who do not usually eat dark chocolate, this is exactly what you will use. 70% is the perfect middle ground because it has depth, but it's also sweet and not too bitter and not too dry. The mousse will set slightly firmer and the flavor will be direct. This is exactly what patisseries mostly use. 85%, amazing flavor. It is more challenging to work with and I would not recommend to start here. For today, we're using 70%. I am using a couverture rather than a supermarket owned brand, and that distinction kind of matters because couverture chocolate has a higher cacao butter content. That extra fat is what gives you the gloss, the clean snap, and the way it melts on the tongue. You will taste the difference in the finished mousse, absolutely. You do not need to spend a fortune though. Buy the best bar you can find. This recipe has very few ingredients, so there's nowhere to hide mediocre chocolate or cheap chocolate. If you use something cheaper, it will taste cheaper. Now to the melt. And this is already where mistake number 1 happens. Chocolate is fragile. Most people know this in theory and then ignore it in practice. The temptation is to melt it in a microwave. Quick, easy, done. You can do it, absolutely. You need to check every 10 to 20 seconds to not burn it, but the bain-marie gives you something the microwave never will. It's way more difficult to burn it, melts slower and it's smoother, and it's just easier for a beginner. Chocolate melts best between 45 and 55 degrees Celsius. Above that, it will burn and it will turn grainy. It seizes into a paste and you cannot go back from that. If you find your chocolate seizing and becoming a thick paste, you have to scrap it and do it all over again, unfortunately. Chop the chocolate before you melt it. The finer the pieces, the faster and more even the melt. The water beneath should be simmering, and the bowl must not touch the water. The heat should come from the steam and not from direct contact. Do not stir constantly as well. Check it, fold it gently once or twice, and let it do its thing. When it looks like this, fluid with deep shine, you can take it off the heat. Now, you let it cool. Not until it is cold, until it is around 35 degrees. Just warm to the touch. If you fold it into your aquafaba while it is still hot, the foam collapses immediately and you will lose all the air you spent 10 minutes building. I use a thermometer usually. I know it feels fussy, but this is the difference between a mousse that holds and the one that deflates overnight. So now set it aside. We will come back to it. And for now, the aquafaba. Aquafaba, it means bean water. Aqua, water, faba, bean. It is the liquid the chickpeas have been sitting inside that can. And when you whip it, something extraordinary happens. The proteins and starches in that liquid behave almost exactly like egg whites. They trap air. They build structure. They give us the foam that holds the mousse together. It sounds weird, I get it. The first time I whipped aquafaba, I stood at the mixer for a full minute convinced it was not going to work, but it did. Eventually, it did. If it doesn't whip in 15 to 20 minutes, that's probably a sign that you need to reduce it or something is wrong, but give it some time. Do not scrap it immediately if you don't see any movement going on. Here's what you need to know before you start. Rule number 1, temperature. The aquafaba must be room temperature because cold aquafaba takes much longer to whip and produces less stable foam. If yours has come straight from the fridge, just leave it on the counter for around 20 minutes. Rule number 2, the bowl. Your mixing bowl must be completely free of any fat, any grease at all, because it will prevent the foam from forming. I'll wipe my bowl and whisk with some lemon juice and a tissue paper. Rule 3, the stabilizer. Add a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar or equivalent amount of lemon juice to the aquafaba before you begin whipping. This lowers the pH slightly, which helps the proteins bond and hold their structure. The difference in peak stability is significant, so please don't skip this step. Begin on a low speed to build the foam, then increase gradually. After a couple of minutes, you will have foam. It looks like the head of a beer. This is not enough. You have to keep going. Now soft peaks, the whisk lifts out and the peak rolls over. You're getting there. Still not enough though. Now, with the mixer still running, begin adding caster sugar a tablespoon at a time. Do not rush this because the sugar stabilizes the structure as it builds. If you add it too fast, it can cause the foam to deflate immediately. I actually did that by accident when I was filming for this video. I added it a bit too fast and it completely collapsed. So just letting you know, you have to be careful with this. Finally, this is what you're looking for. Stiff, glossy peaks that hold their shape completely. No droop and no slide. And now let's test it. I will flip it and it holds perfect. If it moves even slightly, you have to keep whipping because it will not be ready. If it does not move at all, you are ready to make the mousse. Back to the chocolate. Check the temperature. We want around 35 degrees. Touch the outside of the bowl with your wrist. It should feel barely warm, almost neutral. If it has gone too cold and started to firm up, set it over warm water for 10 seconds and stir gently. We need it liquid but not hot. This temperature matching step is what most recipes do not mention actually, and it is the reason most mousses fail. Hot chocolate hits cold foam, the foam will collapse and the air will be lost. The mousse ends up really dense. That is mistake number 2. Before we fold properly, we do something that feels counterintuitive actually. We take about 2 tablespoons of the Aquafaba meringue, just 2 tablespoons, and we stir it aggressively into the chocolate. We're not being gentle here at all. We're deliberately deflating a small amount of the foam to loosen the chocolate base. Cold and thick chocolate folded directly into the foam is too heavy. It will sink, it will drag. You will spend twice as long folding and lose twice as much air. This small spoonful makes the chocolate lighter and more fluid kind of. Now it will accept the rest of the foam willingly. Now we fold in 3 additions and we're going to do this slowly. First third, add it to the chocolate and now cut down the center of the bowl with a spatula, sweep under, fold up and over. Rotate the bowl a quarter turn, repeat. You're not stirring, you're not beating, you are lifting. Every movement is a quarter turn fold. This preserves the air bubbles. Stirring in circles destroys them. That is mistake number 3. And this one nobody really warns you about. You always see all these chefs doing stirring kind of differently, but you don't really clock it until, well, hopefully now. Second third, fold it in the same way. By now the mixture should be looking smooth with the chocolate ribboning through the foam. Third and final addition, this one requires the most care. The mousse is nearly there. Fold until you see no ice streaks remaining and then stop immediately. The temptation to give it one more fold is exactly where most people lose the texture. Stop the moment it is incorporated. So this is what you want. It should fall from the spatula in slow heavy ribbons and do not pour like liquid or not drop in lumps. You want exactly ribbons. If you have that, your mousse is ready to set. A ramekin is a classic patisserie serve. It sets beautifully, it unmolds cleanly. If you want to, plate it properly and the thick walls keep it cool at the table. A wide, shallow bowl is the most forgiving though. It sets faster and the higher surface area means you get more of the garnish in each spoonful. For a dinner party serve, I would say this is the perfect one. Tap each vessel gently on the counter to settle the surface. Into the fridge, minimum 4 hours. Overnight is best. The flavor deepens as the set becomes more stable. And please do not check it every hour. Leave it alone. The fridge is doing the work now. And the final detail before you serve is take the mousse out of the fridge 5 minutes early because the chocolate flavor is significantly more complex at a slightly warmer temperature. When you take it straight from the fridge, all the subtle flavors are muted. Give it 5 minutes, you will taste the difference, believe me. I garnished mine with some chocolate shavings and sprinkled some freeze-dried raspberry pieces for some texture. I bought this from Sosa and there it is. That is what the chocolate mousse is supposed to feel like. So the 3 mistakes: the chocolate folded in while it was still too hot, the aquafaba not whipped to true stiff peaks, and the fold. That circular stir that destroys the air you spend 10 minutes building. Remove those 3 things and the rest of the recipe almost makes itself. Next week, this mousse becomes the base for something else entirely. A dark chocolate and mango entremet hopefully. The full recipe is in the description below along with timestamps for every component if you want to revisit any part of this, and thank you for watching.